The enemy that we have today is not Soviet Union. The enemy of today can be complacency. The fact that we are free and we can just simply go and live our days and not worry about the future. But we need to think about the future. We need to remember the past. We need to think about what we can do to make a Poland, a Europe, a better place to in fact live and to be free. I am leaving here tonight and driving to Warsaw, and I'll be on a plane tomorrow morning to go into Berlin to honor my father on Saturday as we open up the first ever Reagan room at the Checkpoint Charlie Museum to honor him for the part he played in all of it. But he only played a part, an important part as President of the United States. It took many others working towards that end for the wall to in fact come down, for people to in fact become free. And I'm honored to in fact be the son of Ronald Reagan, a man who is so revered by so many. As I go around this wonderful city or around this room as I have for the last few days and run into people who have stories about my father, they remember who he was and what he did and how much pleasure they have in knowing that somebody in the United States of America cared so much about your country. And he certainly did. As I said, it's not something we should forget. We need to remember that freedom is so important because it was all about freedom. It was all about becoming free and moving into the tomorrows and the tomorrows and the tomorrows. How do we do that? And that's what this meeting's all about. Economic freedom is so important. To be able to be economically free. You hear in the United States so often about the pursuit of happiness. The pursuit of happiness simply was the pursuit to own land. To be able to go out and purchase land and develop the land and do the things that you wish with that land, the pursuit of happiness. When that is taken away, what does a man have left? We can't stifle him from owning land. We've got to open it up to all the people. We've got to open it up to young people because they are in fact the future. The decisions that you make here at this meeting may be decisions business-wise for you or business-wise for Poland or business-wise for this city. But truly the decisions you make here are going to set a cornerstone for those high school students and for those college students that I've talked to in the last few days, who in fact are going to be the future of this great country. And it's a great future you want to leave them so they can in fact give it to their children and their children's children. I was so lucky to be in the Reagan family, and I learned so much at such a young age. You know, a lot of people feel that because you're born into a family like that, that somehow you don't learn what other people have to learn. Somehow you don't have to work as hard as others work. But my parents were both born in the Midwest part of the country. My father in Tampico, Illinois. My mother in St. Joe, Missouri. My mother was left on a doorstep because her parents could not afford to raise her. She was born Sarah Jane Mayfield, but left on a doorstep and became Sarah Jane Folks and moved to Hollywood and became Jane Wyman. Ronald Reagan was raised in Tampico, Illinois. His father was a shoe salesman, and he learned from that shoe salesman and his mother the importance of values, the importance of staying with one's word and being true to your word to others. This is what he learned and what my mother had to also learn. And not to grow up angry because she was left on that doorstep, but thankful that at least her mother left her with someone who could in fact take care of her. Now, how do they instill in their own children what was being instilled in them? And that's what they did in our house. Because my father might have told me about the tax system in America, but when I went to my mother at 10 years of age and asked her for a 10-speed bike, I learned about the work ethic in America. I learned that if you really want something bad enough, you'll work for it. If people give you things, you won't work for it. You will have no self-esteem. You will have no career. And your life could end up, in fact, in ruins. In fact, you could look at my mother and my father as the government in our house. If they gave me everything I wanted, how would I grow up? if they taught me that, in fact, I had to earn it, then how would I grow up? So when I asked my mother if I could have a 10-speed bike, would she buy it for me? I had picked it out. It was blue. It was a Schwinn bicycle. My mother said to me very simply, how badly do you want it? And I said, I want it more than ever, Mom, and I will love you forever. No child has probably said that to you. They probably don't try to make you feel guilty like I made my parents feel guilty. But my mother said to me very simply, Michael, do you want it bad enough to get a job? I tried to explain to her that I was 10 years of age. She wouldn't hear of it. She said, if you want it bad enough, you will get a job. And I said, what does a 10-year-old child do with a bike? She said, I'm glad you asked. You can deliver papers. And so she picked up a paper and she looked at it and she found that there was a place in front of our church where I could sell papers on a Sunday morning. And the money that I would make from selling those papers to the parishioners on a Sunday morning, I could in fact take the profits from that and give her a percentage back. Why would I have to give her a percentage? Because my mother at 10 years old had me sign a promissory note. She loaned me the money for that 10-speed bike. I signed a note with my mother to pay her back for loaning me that money. I asked my mother, Mom, why in fact are you making me pay for a bike and borrow money from you when my friends are getting bikes given to them by their parents? And my mother said very simply this, because I build men, I don't build boys. I said, what do you mean by that? She said, you're 10 years old now. But when you're 40, I want you to be a man. I don't want you to be a child. And when I'm no longer here, and I will not probably outlive you, I want to know when I'm gone that I have left a man in the world who knows how to work for the things that he wants. That was my government. Federal government, state governments aren't any different. When you give people things and they don't feel like they earn them, they will squander those things and will never grow up and will never be men, will never be women, because they never learned how to be that. Because we enabled them to not be winners, but in fact, to be losers. And that's not what you want here. That's not what we want in the United States of America.